there are certain expectations we can hold on ourselves or on the market that are unrealistic and lead to all the suffering you'll experience as a trader. And if you're aware of these expectations and you manage them and you quiet them down, you can alleviate a lot of unnecessary stress and emotional baggage while trading. So the first unrealistic expectation we can hold on ourselves is to be one-sided. And we can expect ourselves to be always positive, never negative, right? We can expect ourselves to always be up, never down. To always be winning, never losing. To always be profitable, never in drawdown. And these are unrealistic, one-sided expectations that we impose on ourselves as traders. And these can come from multiple different places. We can look on social media and we can see these people doing very, very well, and they're just putting out their profits. They're only putting out their win. They're only showing off the lifestyle. And we consciously or unconsciously can create this expectation or this standard in our mind that is unrealistic. It's one-sided. It's focused only on one polarity, not the other. And we then try and impose this unrealistic, one-sided, all positive expectation on ourselves. And us as human beings, we know we have two sides to ourselves. We've got a side that we want to show off and we're proud of. We've also got a side of ourselves we want to hide and we're ashamed of. And we know as traders, because we're trading a probability model, we're going to go through the ups and downs. We're going to go through the vicissitudes of the market. We're going to have wins sometimes. We're going to have losses sometimes. We're going to have strings of wins sometimes. We're going to have strings of losses and drawdowns sometimes. Sometimes we're going to be profitable. Sometimes we're going to be not. Sometimes we're going to be up. Sometimes we're going to be down. Sometimes we're going to be right. Sometimes we're going to be wrong. Sometimes we're going to be profitable. Sometimes we're not. So as a trader, the more and more we try and impose a one-sided, all positive expectation on ourselves, then the greater the unrealistic expectations we have. And when the inevitable losses, when the inevitable challenge, when the inevitable down and drawdown come in, then it's very painful because we've set a standard that's unrealistic. Number two, the other expectations we can have are on the market. And we can expect the market to bend to our will and to the time and price we expect of the market. And there are many traders who do this without even knowing they're doing it. They're doing it unconsciously. They're creating an idea in their mind of where they think price is going to go in what certain time horizon. And they're imposing this expectation on the market. And these are two unrealistic expectations, the two most common unrealistic expectations that I've seen throughout my own trading journey. I've observed myself imposing on the market, and I've also seen with many of my clients and many of my students. And these unrealistic expectations that we impose on ourselves and on the market lead to our suffering as a trader, okay? And as a trader, what we have to understand is we're trading a probability model. We're trading a sequence of random outcomes. The outcome on that individual trade may be a loss, it may be a win, and that sequence is going to play out. Now, at the end of a larger sample space and at the end of a larger sequence, we know the sum of all of that is profitable because that's our edge. But on the individual trade, on the individual outcome, we can't accurately predict whether that's going to be a win or a loss. There are just too many factors to predict the outcome of an individual trade. The larger sample space, we have a better idea of predicting because that's our edge. But the individual trade, we can't predict. Okay? Now, as a trader, the more and more we're addicted to and imposing this expectation on ourselves and on the market that the outcome is going to be profitable and positive, and the more pleasure we associate to that positive win, and I'm going to put win in inverted commas here because this is actually what I call false winning, the more we impose pleasure and expect a pleasurable, positive, false win on that individual outcome, then if the outcome is a loss on that trade, because we're associating a lot of pleasure to winning, by law of contrast, we're associating a lot of pain to losing. And what's going to happen is because we're addicted to the win, the moment we get the inevitable loss, it's going to be a very painful experience. And I can assure you, if you go back in your mind to your most painful losses, those are the trades before you got into those trades that you had the most expectation about a positive outcome. Because maybe you also associated to that positive win all these additional things. Maybe you thought that win was also going to get you a funded account, or maybe some recognition in your community, or maybe some glorification from your family and friends. And if we impose all those things onto the outcome of a trade, if by the natural probability sequence of the market it's a loss, then that loss is going to be very, very painful. So the more we impose a one-sided expectation onto the market of this false winning, this positive outcome, and the more we impose those expectations in ourselves that we're always this way, the more pain is going to be associated with the inevitable losses that come through. Because in our mind, what we do is when we associate a lot of pleasure to winning, we therefore associate a lot of pain to losing. And it's just the law of contrast in your mind. And the more addicted you are to this, the more afraid and you want to avoid the pain. And then the more you're trying to seek the pleasurable win, the more the loss is painful. Okay? Just basic contrast. Now, as a trader, we have to truly accept this idea that nobody knows the outcome of the individual trade. And we have to learn to detach from what I call outcome-based thinking. Outcome-based thinking and the outcome of the individual trade is down here. It's this lower level thinking. You can transcend this lower level thinking, outcome-based thinking, and go to a higher level of awareness, which is this center point here. This center point encompasses both winning and losing, and in actuality, it's neither positive nor negative. It's neither win nor loss, because it's not focused on the outcome. It's focused on the process. It's focused on the larger sample space. Down here is focused on the individual trade. So the more and more you transition from outcome-based thinking to process-based thinking, and the more you detach from the outcome of the individual trade, and the more you start to think in terms of a larger sample space, and the more you focus on, does this trade align with my trading plan and my trading processes? If it does, I'm going to take it, and that was a great trading day, irrespective of whether it was a win or a loss. The more we embody that type of thinking, the less suffering we have in our trading. Suffering only exists down here, where we're expecting a false win, which is a win on the individual trade, and by law of probabilities, we eventually get a loss, which is very, very painful. That's what suffering is. Suffering is seeking after winning all the time, which is unattainable, because based on trading, the law of probability, you're going to get both wins and losses. Now, why is this false winning? Well, false winning is winning on the individual trade because that current win may be making up for a loss in the past or compensating for a loss in the future. So when we focus on that win and we say, I made 3% on this individual trade or 3R on this individual trade, you're not taking into consideration the larger sample space. So then if you take a loss in the next trade, it's going to be very painful. And you tend to neglect the losses you've taken in the past. But true winning, which is up here, which is sticking to your trading plan, true winning is being profitable at the end of a larger sample space. This is true winning. And this is, this larger sample space is hundreds of trades, not just a few. Okay, so part of my message today is that the source of your suffering as a trader is setting unrealistic one-sided expectations on yourself and on the market. And the more you're seeking after the positive and the more pleasure you associate to the positive, the more painful the inevitable negative is going to be when you experience it as a trader. And then the second component to this lesson is that, and in part 2, the way you get out of suffering, remember suffering is down here in the outcome, when you're focusing on the outcome, because you're suffering because you're seeking after the attainable, winning all the time, and trying to avoid the unattainable, which is losses. We're trying to avoid the unavoidable, losses. All right, so that's suffering down here. The way you get out of suffering is by implementing process-based thinking and focusing on the process and detaching from the outcome of the individual trade. Suffering comes when you focus on the individual trade. And up here, you're focused on a larger sample space. So helping you transition from outcome-based thinking to process-based thinking is what will help you get out of this state of suffering as a trader. And there are a few things you can do. Firstly, you need to have a mechanical trading plan that has a clearly laid out edge within it, so that you know that every single trade you take, whether win or loss, you're executing on a sample space there. And I've got my 6-figure trading plan template in the description, which is the exact trading plan template that I give to my 6-figure traders. If you don't already have one, download it and use that. The next thing you want to do is you want to use the Bulletproof Your Mindset tool. Again, this is another tool I give to my 6-figure traders to help them manage any unrealistic expectations they have on themselves or in the market before they trade, so they can transition from outcome-based thinking to process-based thinking. Because whenever you're pulled by the positive expectation or the greed or the fantasy over here, then you're ignoring your trading plan. And whenever you're trying to avoid the fear or the pain of the loss here, you're pulled away from the center path to this greed. You're not sticking to your trading plan. So the moment you use the Bulletproof Your Mindset tool, what that tool is going to help you do is identify any outcome-based expectations you have on the market or on yourself, or any unrealistic expectations you have on yourself from the market. It's going to help you ground those in real time before you trade, and it's going to align you with your trading plan. And it's going to ask you a very simple question: does this trade align with your trading plan or not? And if it doesn't, you're not going to trade. If it does, you're going to trade. And that tool is going to help you manage the polarities of positive and negative, the fear and greed. And over time, initially it may just help a little bit, but over time, like a muscle, you train it again and again, and you'll get very good at managing fear and greed and just sticking to your trading plan. And you'll find yourself getting off center less, and you're just sticking and adhering to your trading plan more and more. So these are two very important tools, two powerful tools to implement to help reduce suffering in your trading. Okay, remember, your suffering comes from unrealistic expectations on yourself and on the market. No trader, not even the best traders out there, win all the time. Not even the best traders out there stay out of drawdown. Every single trader experiences drawdown. Trading is a game of, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 3 steps forward, 1 step back. It's important to remain detached from the outcome so that you can just stick to your processes, your trading plan, and you can execute on a larger sample space. So remember, suffering comes from unrealistic expectations on yourself from the market. And when you start to transition out of outcome-based thinking, which is where suffering is, and you learn to identify and ground these unrealistic expectations, and you learn to stick to your trading plan, and you learn to embody process-based thinking and focus on the larger sample space as opposed to the individual outcome, you reduce suffering in your trading significantly. You free yourself to be more carefree in your trading so you can focus on other things in your life, like other businesses or your career or your family and friends or your health and fitness or all the above. And you can empower your life holistically while you have trading running there in the background. And as a result, when you have that carefree, abundant attitude because you're focused on the processes that work, you start to build consistent profitability. And you can start to scale up more unemotionally. You can start to make more and more money from your trading. So hopefully this makes sense. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, check out the description for the resources. If you found this useful, share it with your trading communities. And if you haven't already, make sure you check out the Trading Psychology Archetype Quiz. That's also going to give you a deeper understanding of which of the 4 trading mindsets you have, as well as give you a free personalized report showing you exactly what you need to do to get from where you are to consistently profitable. Okay, thank you for watching to the end. I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow.